This is the Three Girls in Love channel. My name is Joseph Darling, and we are live, guys. Today we're going to talk about a video that I have never seen before. I was about to do a Jordan B. Peterson video and react to that, but I've chosen this one instead because it just popped up. It's just been 1 week, and it kind of went viral with 37,000 views or whatever. So we'll check that out. And her name is, or the title of her channel is The Feminine Fancy. So this might be very, very interesting. I've put the speed on 1.5. Okay, so it's gonna be very fast for a lot of you guys. But for me, like, I love it when I listen to people fast. And also, but if it's too fast for you guys, make sure you comment down below. Make sure that I don't do that ever again. And only have 1.25 because, I do what you guys want. But this video is kind of long. And I'll try not to kind of overdo with my explanations of things. I kind of want you guys to see what's going on out there and what other people are saying, even though you kind of do know anyway. So let's check out what she says.
Being a woman in society is an interesting thing, no matter what age you're at. People always have opinions and ideas about what being a woman should look like. And one thing that I've noticed is that there's a lot of talk and a lot of discussion around womanhood and being a girl, but there isn't much discussion around certain things that people just like certain aspects of being a woman that people don't want to talk about. Like there are aspects of being a girl, of being a woman that everyone's kind of just like, oh, let's not talk about that. I think with social media and with mainstream media even, we get these ideas about what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a girl, what it looks like, and we kind of fall into that and we feed into that. And then when it doesn't look the way that it looks on social media, when our life doesn't look the way that it looks in the movies, we're kind of like, well, wait, nobody said nobody said this was part of it. No one said this was going to happen. I wanted to offer some life advice that people don't tell you as a woman, some things that I wish I had known in my early 20s, some things I know my friends wish they had known, the compilation of different tips and advice that I would want to tell my younger self and also tell my friends when they were younger, and just things that nobody told us. So in this video, I'm going to give you 10 pieces of life advice that nobody tells young women. The first thing that nobody tells you is that casual sex, casual intimacy, casual romantic relationships can and often do lead to a lot of pain. So we see these images in movies and television and mainstream media of casual romantic relationships, casual intimacy, and you see it, but you never see the aftermath. You never see what happens spiritually and emotionally after you have engaged in something, very intimate and very personal with someone else. All you see is, the act itself, or the sort of passion leading up to a one-night stand or something. And let me be clear, I'm not shaming anyone, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying that nobody tells you that even if you do participate in that, even if you do engage in that, there is a chance that it could lead to heartbreak for you. And I've spoken about this in videos before. One of the ways that can happen is because most of the time, if you are having a casual relationship with someone, one of you generally wants more. Typically, it's the woman. I'm just gonna say it. Typically, it's the girl.
Okay, this is funny. Let's just talk about that quickly for a second. And okay, so we know from our channel that the casual sexual relationships is always a bad idea, always. And that's why we should abstain from it. And she explains that, you heard her. My opinion on this, though, she ends what she said about it by saying that usually it's the woman who has, who gets more connected after it. Not necessarily so. That's her experience because she's a beautiful woman. And the women in her vicinity very, very often are also beautiful. But they don't think about all the guys that are feminine that very often wants more after that first casual relationship. However, it's true though, casual sexual relationships don't very often happen for guys that that have had a one night stand, because very often that had taken so long before they managed to get into a relationship with a girl, and then they had sex, and then hopefully there was continuation. But so it's a little bit different from people to people, but that only depends on their masculinity and their femininity.
Girl. At least in my experience, in the experience of my friends, and in the people in my circle, I can say that anytime any of us have been like, oh yeah, I'm just casually hanging out with this guy, or, casually hooking up with this guy, it's because myself or they have always wanted more out of the relationship. And nobody tells you that, one, not only does that not get you anywhere, but two, you can come out of that feeling hurt and broken and bruised. Now, in life, you will experience heartbreak.
No, you always will come out of that relationship hurt and bruised and emotionally screwed over by having casual sexual relationships with guys that you hope maybe in the future they will, but they won't. Okay, because they've already gotten what they wanted from you, and they've got options because they're sleeping around casually with you. If they were committed to you and actually needed that attention from you, then they would only be focused on you because you're the one that they want. But women are designed in such a way that they desire to be with men that have easy access to other women. Even though they want monogamy and they want the man to only be with her, they want the man who has the ability to be with a lot of other women. But then what's the probability that he'll want to be with you if he has the ability to be with tons of women? So it eventually becomes just casual sexual relationships that destroys women. And especially beautiful women, because they're the ones that the guys that do casual relationships want for one night stand. But the more difficult they are, and maybe even sometimes those guys don't want a long-term relationship at all. But because they're hard to get and because they're difficult to attain and to secure and lock down, that's why women are very often interested in them. Very destructive, and our entire movement is built around helping women to never ever have to go through that experience. Ever. Okay? Society at large, we need to come to a point where it's naturally we've gravitated towards a scenery where there is no such thing as casual sexual relationships because there's no women on the market. That's a good thing. Okay? The more sexually promiscuous women are, not their fault. This is what they're being taught. This is what's going, this is what's happening because men have led the way for feminism. Uh, but over time, we want to get to a space where women are not promiscuous, but it's not because of they chose it. It's because society has evolved towards it because of the movement that we're doing.
Break regardless. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just what life is. But we also make choices in this life. And a lot of our suffering stems from our own choices, right? I just think it's really important to tell young women that, like, hey, look, if you're going to participate in casual intimacy with someone, you need to know that there's a good chance that you're going to catch feelings, you're going to end up being emotionally attached to that person, and you're going to end up wanting more, and it might not turn out the way that you thought it was going to turn out. That's just me being completely honest. Like, nobody wants to talk about that. We want to see people in movies and TV shows doing it, and then when we try it, we're like, wait, but nobody told me that it was going to hurt. Nobody told me that this could potentially lead to something else, right? Like, no one says that.
Okay, quick thing here. I can promise you that this woman was told this at the time. She was told in her teenage years, don't do it. I highly recommend you don't have that kind of relationships with men. Just don't, okay? Like, there's a reason why, blah, blah, blah. And she's probably, if she focuses on femininity in her life and all that stuff, she has also, there's probably some religion around going on, right? Because that's kind of where they get the desire to be feminine and all that stuff very often. So she's been told, but femininity is in the now, so she believes, like, right now, like, no one told me, like, what's going on? Why don't anyone talk about this? We do talk about it, and there's tons of people talking about it. On my channel, we talk about it from the standpoint of without religion, okay? Like, just from scientific, case studies of seeing women being screwed over. However, like, religion has been talking about it for thousands of years. So she can't say that, I mean, she can say it, but the fact she has been told, but women are emotional creatures. So it doesn't matter how much we tell teenagers and women in their 20s to not do it. Don't have casual sexual relationships. However, we explain it, we state it, and then eventually once they do get the pain, which probably most women will get if they're beautiful, because if they're beautiful, they have options. And if they have options, they want to act on those options. Like, what's the point of me being beautiful if I don't get what I want? And what you want as a very often in your late teenage years is sexual relationships with the guys that you want. That's what you want. So you're not going to avoid, maybe you'll actually be in an environment where there's a lot of people that are telling you to do this. But if you're in an environment, okay, you're an environmental creature as a woman. If you're in an environment where other women are telling you that casual sexual relationships is not a big deal, and I do it all the time, and blah, 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 and you should do it too, then you'll have the FOMO, the fear of missing out, and you feel like everyone else is doing it, then why am I not doing it? And so you'll do it. And that's what's going to happen if you don't immerse yourself in an environment where casual sexual relationships is a really highly recommended, that you don't do it, and everyone in your vicinity and everyone in your environment says so. Then you'll stay away. So it's the environmental aspect that you need to remember, that women don't have that choice if they're in the wrong environment. So let's try and fix that environment for women.
I just want to be the big sister to tell you that if you are engaging in casual intimacy with people, there's a chance that you could end up on the hurt end of things. I'm not saying that it will happen. I'm sure there are plenty of...
It will happen. I'm gonna tell you the actual truth. She says the truth, but I'm gonna expel it without the political correctness of it by saying it will hurt you every single time. Even those times when you broke up. Even those times when you're the one leaving the guy behind because it was a yucky experience and you don't want anything to do with him in the future, it still hurts you from the fact that you've now have this history of having slept with that guy, and that lowers your status. Or it increases your guilt and shame and like, why did I do that? That's the negative aspect from having casual sexual relationships with a guy that you did not want to have sexual relationships with, but you were just drunk or something happened and you just weren't thinking at the moment, blah, blah, blah. But what if you did like it, if you did enjoy it, and that guy is kind of cute and handsome and you want him again, you're going to be hurt by that as well, because you want him, but he probably doesn't want you. And why doesn't he want you? Because he has options. Because you only like guys that have options. So it's a hurt, lose-lose situation no matter how you look at casual sexual relationships.
Women who engage in casual relationships, casual sexual relationships, and come out fine, or maybe, or come out thinking that they're fine, or come out feeling fine. That's not me. That hasn't been my experience. That hasn't been my friend's experience, and so I just want to share that with you. The second thing that nobody tells you as a young woman, and that no one really talks about, is the fact that a lot of our feminine products are actually very toxic. So I didn't know about this actually until I posted my feminine hygiene video and got so many comments about how like people were saying like your period should not be that bad. Like there's no reason why your periods should be that bad. And after a while, it's toxic to us. And your time with friends are very more now into finding products, and I know other women does have side effects, okay? You can watch anytime you're watching like birth control of these women dancing in dresses and they're just so happy and they feel so...
So make sure you check out her channel so you can hear all this stuff, but it's just not interesting for me, like the feminine products.
Great. And then at the end you hear like all the list of side effects. I know for myself, I've gone into my gynecology periods weren't like coming on the right schedule. I know at one point I was experiencing that where it would like come twice a month instead of once a month, and so to kind of regulate that, a lot of times they will suggest birth control. And I remember being like, well, you know, I've heard some things about it. I've heard some, you know, some interesting things from my friends about side effects that they've experienced. And my gynecologist was like, yeah, no, not really. Like it doesn't really affect you that much.
Okay, this one I will mention. Birth control has intense side effects. People won't think about it, but it messes with your hormones, it messes with your brain, it messes with your whole aspect of things. Like, the healthiest you'll ever be is when you live naturally. That's the goal, for you to live naturally according to how nature designed it. Because when you begin to pop pills, and it can be birth control pills, but it can be any other pills for that matter as well, you begin to mess with your system. You're beginning to mess with your system. Who knows what kind of damage that's going to do? But the immediate damage that happens is that you don't know the truth. You don't know the truth when you're popping pills. And what do I mean by the truth? You don't know what actually is happening to you, in a sense of your emotions being up and down, or an event happened to you, and what's your actual feeling about it, etc. If you're using pills that mess with your emotions, then how do we know that the emotion that you're feeling right now is the emotion that you're feeling about this specific event? If that makes sense, because you've messed with your emotions, so now you might have different emotions about this specific event. When you are not using anything and you live naturally, then you know the truth and you can think clearly more so about what's going on, if that makes sense. Like, face the truth by not popping pills, because if you're popping them, then you're taking away symptoms that might be giving you a sign of something that's not right, if that makes sense. You're very often with pills, you take away the symptoms. So anyway, this is for, you know, also people who use any other pills as well. But anyway.
A lot of people have experienced weight gain on birth control, and I think doctors just want to pretend that that doesn't happen. I told my gynecologist that some of my friends gained a lot of weight, and she was like, oh well, when people experience weight gain, that's probably because they just aren't taking the time to exercise. They become lazy when they get on birth control for whatever reason. They feel like they feel a little bit more relaxed, and they feel like they don't have to work out. Whatever. It was kind of a weird explanation. I was like, okay, I didn't go on it, and I am glad that I didn't, because I have since that moment, I have had other conversations with friends about their negative experiences on birth control. And everyone wants to act like birth control is this end-all be-all save the world pill, and no one wants to talk about the negative side effects of birth control. I'm not
Okay, so I completely agree with her, but this is another reason why you don't have casual sexual relationships, right? You stay away until you in the committed long-term relationship for life. That's the goal. Because if you do that, if you make that decision and you stay in an environment that encourages you to do that, like stick around this channel, for example, make sure you subscribe and like this video, so that you can be encouraged to do that on a continual basis. And like in terms of you've chosen that path and you stick to that path, because if you do, then you don't need birth control ever, right? And it's not like once you get into that committed lifelong relationship that you're going to immediately have kids. No, the men of high value practice semen retention, which means that the probability that he's going to impregnate you is very minimal, and then you can also have other precautions that make sure that you don't get it. And there's other ways for you to do that other than pills. That's the only thing I'm saying.
saying that you shouldn't do it. In fact, I know people go on birth control and it's fine, and then they get off of it when they're ready to have a baby and everything's fine. But there are side effects to it, and I just think it's so crazy how everyone wants to act like there are none. There are side effects to pretty much everything. They could be negative, they could be positive, who knows? But there are side effects to everything that you do, especially when it comes to medication. There are alternatives.
I like what she says about there's side effects to everything, and this really means there's a cause and there's an effect to everything that you do. Okay, just remember that in general. Cause and effect, and the side effects is just balancing out the positive things that you get from a specific product. There's going to be like, so for example, the side effects of chocolate and things that is bad for you. There's going to be side effects, and those side effects very often are in relation to the immediate gratification and pleasure that you got. So the goal is for us to take away the unnatural immediate gratification as much as however possible, so that we don't get too many of the negative side effects that will bring into our lives. So this is also with alcohol and stimulants and all that stuff, and I recommend that you take away all of those things in your life, not only to know the truth, but also not to get the long-term side effects of products that give you immediate gratification, if that makes sense.
Birth control methods. There is natural family planning. There are other ways that you can do it without ingesting something that could potentially cause you long-term harm. Again, that's not to say that this happens for all women. I'm just saying I do know that it happens for some, and that nobody wants to for me, that just wasn't something that I wanted to do. I didn't want to test a bunch of different manufactured medications to see which one would work best with my body. I just started a different one, and that birth control does have side effects. Do your own research, decide if that's best for you. Talk to your friends, talk to your mom, talk to whoever, and important to know what you're putting in your body in particular. The fourth piece of life advice that nobody tells young women is that you reach peak fertility in your late 20s, so around age 28. Now, that's not to say that you can't have a baby in your 30s or even in your 40s.
That's completely not true. Peak fertility at 28? Are you kidding me? Peak fertility, from my understanding, is 18 to 22 years old. I have no idea what she's going to tell you, but that's my opinion.
However, you reach peak fertility around your late 20s. And I think that's important to remember, because when we look at the
let's see what
advice
she says
that
again.
nobody tells young women is that you reach peak fertility in your late 20s, so around age 28. Now, that's not to say that you can't have a baby in your 30s or even in your 40s. However, you reach peak fertility around your late 20s. And
maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what studies she's done, but from my understanding, her you reach the epitome of fertility between the age of 18 to 22. Very often that's in conjunction with the most beautiful you are, and that's when you're 18 to 22. From then on, you lose eggs continuously. Now, this is a problem that we hope to solve in the long-term future, whereby we can maybe find a ways to produce more eggs, because very often, or what happens these days, is that you lose eggs. You have an amount of eggs, and then you lose them throughout your life until you don't have any eggs left. Okay, but that doesn't make any sense. Why would you not be able to keep eggs forever? because that would keep life forever. So there needs to be more studies done on this, obviously. But what she's saying here is peak fertility 28, 29. Nah, I don't think so. Like, I'll have to make more studies, but maybe if she is right, it's like it's like the end of one's fertility, because once you pass 30, of course you can have kids. I was born by a mother or who was 42 when she had me. So it's, of course, it's possible. But the fact is that it becomes harder, the child has more risks to the pregnancy, etc., etc. So the best times to secure a man of high value is early in life. So 18 is a great age to begin the search of finding the man of high value, with the help of this channel, perhaps. But understand that your fertility from that moment on, after 22, it's gonna decline continuously.
I think that's important to remember, because when we look at the celebrity culture and we look at all these celebrities who are 42, 51, and they're having their first child, we think, oh, well, I can wait until I'm 51 to have a baby too.
No, very often they use the what is called the infertility in vitro fertilization, IVF, in vitro fertilization. That costs a lot of money. From what I heard last time, it cost $20,000 to have that. And that's when you're not able to have kids, and it takes you forever to have a kid when you want to have a kid, which is usually done when you're over 30 years old, 35. If Yeah. So actually, one thing that I haven't mentioned about fertility is that the more feminine a man is, the less fertile he's going to be. The more feminine a woman is, the more fertile she's going to be. That's living according to nature. But when the woman becomes very, very masculine, the less probability she's going to be fertile towards having a child. Because, like they said in Friends, okay, if you remember, Monica and Chandler, they were trying to have a kid, and then they were told that Monica wasn't fertile, okay, or her womb wasn't a fertile ground, or something like that. That was a specific way they put it, but that just makes sense because she's very, very masculine. Like, Friends are amazing in terms of explaining how things truly are in society. But just from understanding that aspect is that you want to live according to your femininity, because that gives you the option of getting what you want when you want it. You're fertile when you're feminine. The more feminine you are, the more fertile you'll be. The more masculine you are, the more burdened you are. Nature has it in a way that you should not have kids. Okay? And very often you'll find masculine women who say, I don't want kids. Don't shame me. I don't want kids. Very often it's because they're masculine. They don't want kids. And that's perfectly fine. Thank you. Because nature has it in such a way that they shouldn't have kids. It's not a wise decision. It's not good for the baby. Most probably. So we got to work towards that polarity where men are masculine and women are feminine.
Or I can wait until I'm 43 to have a baby. And sure, you can if you have the resources, but the thing that no one really discusses is the fact that these celebrities have access to nannies, to cooks, to au pairs, to drivers, to so much that they're not, like, yes, they're probably doing most of the work. I'm not going to say that these mothers aren't mothering their children, but let's be honest, a lot of them probably have help, and that's fine. But you have to be honest with yourself and know, I am not a celebrity. I don't know if I intend to become a celebrity by the time that I am 37. So I don't have the same luxury. Not only that, but there are health risks the older you are when you're trying to conceive. And that is just a sad reality. The sad reality is that as women, we have a time in our lives when we are the most fertile and the most able to give birth to healthy babies. And it's a blessing. It's amazing. But we have to acknowledge that exists. We can't just say, oh, I'm just going to put this off. Like, just keep putting it off until I'm like 37, because by the time you get to your late 30s, your early 40s, your late 40s, and you're starting to consider having a baby, you now have to think of all of these other factors. What is your egg count? Are you in the same place health-wise that you were when you were 28? Now, I'm not suggesting that you have a baby in your 20s just because you're fertile in your 20s. Not what I'm saying at all.
Completely agreed. Okay, don't do it. Okay, that's like absolutely horrific. If you look at the Jubilee, they had a video one time explaining about teen pregnancy, and there was like all of those women were explaining horrific circumstances where they had their pregnancies. And then they were asked, like, are you happy that you had the baby? And like pretty much everyone was like, absolutely. But it's like, really, like, it's the dual nature of femininity. It's like, it's absolutely horrific, but motherhood is amazing. So you gotta understand the aspect of motherhood is absolutely amazing, but it needs to be done in an environment where there are no problems. Why? Because the man has already taken care of it. Okay, she's talking about how, you probably won't have the luxury of being a celebrity. No, but you can be with the man who is a capitalist and who is absolutely amazing at bringing in the dough in Three Girls in Love. That's what I would recommend. Understand my channel. Understand the title of this channel that you're watching, Three Girls in Love. When you are living in your feminine nature, you will allow the man to actually go out there and be gone for the majority of the time in order to bring in the dough from a capitalistic uh, entrepreneur mindset of helping other people, creating win-win situations everywhere and becoming rich. And when he does that, then you can have the luxury of whatever you want pretty much in your life together with your best friends forever. But anyway, moving on. Let's see.
But I do think it's important to know about your fertility. It's important to know, okay, if I want to have a baby, if I want to have a family, there are certain steps that I have to take. There are certain things that I have to acknowledge and recognize and say, okay, well, I know that this runs in my family when it comes to fertility. I know that someone in my family might have suffered miscarriage or something like that. You have
Okay, habit is more hereditary than genes. I just wanted to put that in there. If you look at your past experience or your past history of your family lineage, understand that it's the habits that have been passed on throughout the generations that have created the same problems. So it's not genes very often. Very people will blame everything on genes. Yes, you have the same genes, but it comes from the habits. It's the habits that created our DNA and the genes that we have. So it's all about changing the habits so you can change the next generation. Yeah.
to know about your fertility, know about your family's history when it comes to fertility, when it comes to conceiving a child. So again, definitely not suggesting that you just go out and have a baby at 28 because, oh, well, I'm fertile. No, that's not what I'm saying. Obviously, you want to be in a good place financially, in a good place in your marriage or your relationship, and in a place where if you were to bring a child into the world, you would be able to take care of it and love it and, provide for it. But I'm also saying that as a woman, we do have this thing looming over our heads called fertility, and we have to acknowledge it. The fifth piece of life advice that I think it's super important for women to know and young women to know is that if you are asking for honesty from your partner or from someone you're dating or from a friend, that doesn't make you clingy, that doesn't make you annoying, it makes you a communicative adult. I feel like for some reason there's this stigma that like women don't want to ask for clarity from their relational partners in particular, and there's this archetype almost, or this image of like the clingy girlfriend or that annoying girl you're dating who wants to know what you are, what you're doing, and they kind of make that girl out to look like she's annoying, to look like she is, silly or dumb or whatever. And the fact of the matter is that like if you're in your 20s, if you're like 24, 25, and let's say you've just gotten out of college, you know what you're trying to do with your life, and you're dating someone and they're kind of like, I don't really know what's going on. If you ask them once, twice, or three times, hey, we've been dating for each other for a while now, like, I just want to know where this is going, and they can't give you a clear answer, and they want to turn it around and make you look like you're, like, a crazy girlfriend, or a stalker, or clingy, or annoying, that is not on you. Like, do not take that on, but what you do need to realize is that you've gotten your answer, right? So if you are having to ask someone multiple times what you are, you know the answer. The answer is you are nothing, and the answer is it's probably not going anywhere. That is just one thing that I want to address, because I feel like women get a really bad rap for, like, being clingy and being annoying, and you see that image of the girl who's, like, asking for clarity, being communicative. You see this in movies all the time, and they make her out to look like she's crazy, and she's not. If that's you, you're not crazy, but also know that if you're having to ask the person you're dating, whatever, more than twice, more than three times, more than twice what you are, you've gotten your answer, and it's time to move on. But just know that you're not clingy, you're not annoying, you are just an adult who knows how to ask for what you want.
Okay, this one is actually quite crucial because this happens a lot in dating, and especially when the man is higher value than what she is. So in other words, of like, she really wants to be with this guy. Obviously she wants to be with him, or else she wouldn't be asking the questions like, when can we settle down? And well, what am I? Am I a girlfriend? Like, where is this going? Is this progressing anywhere? Like, I want to know, blah blah blah. Yes, that's the clingy, needy girlfriend, but oh my gosh, like, why should this be happening at all in the first place? If a man, especially if there's sexual things going on, which is probably is in this day and age, then the man should have committed a long time ago. Like, why is he having sexual relations with you if he's not committed towards the relationship? You should have stayed away, not your fault, but you should have stayed away from that guy at all, completely. He should not have entered into your relationship at all, nonsoever. Because any guy that gets the reward of sexual relationships with you, he doesn't need anything else. So he's fine where the relationship is. And very often, what we also don't talk about very often, which he hasn't mentioned here, is that guys need to be less needy than the girl in order for him to retain her. We got to remember that too. Very often the reason why the woman feels needy is because the man is massively restraining himself to make sure that he doesn't appear needy, because that's the death kill of the relationship. If he appears needy nonsoever, she'll lose complete attraction. So it's actually kind of crucial that the man is less interested in the relationship than she is as a woman. Okay? Because that's how attraction works. The man has to be less interested, less fired up, less in love, less everything than his woman in order for the relationship to work in monogamy. Monogamy sucks in that regard because the woman now trying to get something from this guy because she can't get anything out of him, but he's doing it very often because he wants to retain or have the power in the relationship, which is crucial for there to be polarity, for him to be the masculine one, for him to be the one who is attractive in the relationship. So we've got to understand that aspect of things as well, as we listen to this wonderful woman explaining these things. But how do you avoid the neediness and the clinginess? You shouldn't have been in a relationship with the guy at all, nonsoever, before you know that this is a committed, lifelong relationship for life, and I'm going to be with him forever. Then you know you're in a relationship. And if you can track that over time and see that, oh wow, he actually is okay with not having sex with me for a long period of time. That's wonderful. That's awesome. Because that's not what's important to him in the relationship. He wants to make sure he's taking care of you and your emotions and your security, your protection, your everything. That's great. In monogamy, however, it's kind of it sucks because the woman wants to like you want a relationship where the man doesn't have to restrain himself all the time, because that means that you can't connect properly. But the only form of connection you get is when the man is aloof and he's kind of doing other stuff, and there's other girls that are basically signaling that they're interested in him. That's when the relationship works the best, when the woman is allowed to be in her feminine state without wondering if he's going to be committed or not, if that makes sense. So that's why we've got Three Girls in Love, to make sure to solve that problem so the man doesn't have to ever appear needy, because why would he be needy if he's got three girls? It doesn't make any sense. Like, by default, that wouldn't happen. And in Three Girls in Love, it just solves everything because you're automatically with a high value man and you can connect with him properly now, knowing that you're going to have an amazing relationship for the rest of your life.
You've gotten your answer and it's time to move on. But just know that you're not clingy, you're not annoying, you are just an adult who knows how to ask for what you want. Sixth piece of advice that nobody gives young women is that having a group of friends, like you see on, for example, the show Friends, or any of these TV shows where they show a group of people who are like all best friends, doesn't exist. And also, it's really hard to make good friends as an adult. And I'm so sorry to tell y'all this, but it's the truth. Mindy Kaling has a book.
It's hard to make good friends as an adult. Oh my gosh. The biggest pandemic in the world today is not the coronas. It's not all the other stuff going on. The biggest pandemic, and for men, it's porn. Okay, the biggest pandemic is that. But for women, the biggest pandemic is loneliness. Not being able to get along with other women. Not being able to handle relationships with friends over a long period of time. And very often, it's difficult to make those friendships as an adult, like she's saying. This is actually a very crucial thing that I don't bring up enough. But it's hard. And this is why Three Girls in Love is crucial in this regard, because it allows you to have best friends who are all going in the same direction as you for life. For life. Which means that they're never going to go anywhere. They're accepted in this group and they never want to leave that society. That small, close, family-knit family of Three Girls in Love. It's an amazing aspect of things when you're with your best friends and you know they're not going anywhere. You're actually going to have a life with them. So the six people, friends, that doesn't happen very often, and I agree with her. However, it could happen early on in your teenage years, that type of thing. You guys are a group, you guys kind of hang out all the time, but you'll always see that there's some that go out of the group and some that come into the group, and it's very fluid in your teenage years and in your 20s. But yeah, she's right.
Called it's called Why Wasn't I Invited? I want to look it up now. Okay, she has a book called Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me? I haven't actually read it, but I did hear her talk about it in a few interviews, and I remember her saying how it's so difficult to make friends as an adult. And it's the most true thing. It's the truest statement. It's hard to make friends as a young adult. After college, like, the only place that you really can make friends is at work. And I generally don't really advise being friends with people that you work with anyway, because that can lead to office place drama and things like that. So it's really difficult to make friends in your adult life. And that's just something nobody talks about. And I think there's a
And why would you want to be at work at all ever anyway? Like, is that what life is about for you as a feminine woman? You want to go out there and be rejected by other people, by customers, by a boss? You want to have a boss that's not your lover? Like, do you understand what I mean? Like, it's not you, and you trying to get money. Why are you trying to get money if you have a man of high value in the first place? Doesn't make any sense. A man of high value will always be able to shower you luxuriously with stuff. Whatever you need, he's there, okay? Men of high value, what I teach them is that they need to have a huge, strong financial foundation before they even start thinking about girls. They're voluntary celibate, they practice semen retention, and over time, they develop a massive financial foundation for them to shower you with everything that you and your two best friends want for the rest of their lives, because he enjoys being a slave for you. We want to be slaves for our 3 women in love. For one woman, not so much, because you don't reward us for it. Just figure out all married relationships suck, okay, in terms of what the man is getting out of it. He might get a nice friendship, but that's not enough motivation to go out there and create lots and lots and lots of wealth, unless he has, he's kind of like a guy who is passionate about money and passionate about business and all that stuff. All men of high value are that, okay? But yeah, understand that aspect.
a lot of loneliness that goes on with women in our 20s and 30s and 40s, because like you haven't, something nobody talks about. And I think there's a lot of loneliness that goes on with women in our 20s and 30s and 40s, because like you haven't established like a good amount of friendships from, let's say, middle school through your college experience.
That's not really what happens, is that you have established friends throughout your teenage years and in your college experience. Hopefully you did not go to college. Very, very bad idea. But if you did, okay, you've established all of these friendships and they now become acquaintances over time. Why? Because they're not going in the same direction. They're also moving away from each other. Everyone has a job. Oh, I'm moving to this place. Okay. See you later. I guess we'll never talk again, except for Skype once a year, or texting on Messenger, like, every 6 months if you're lucky. Like, how is that a close-knit relationship? And even if you did, you kind of have to balance the relationship, make sure that you don't, spend too much time doing it, because then she won't be able to do it with you next time, and da-da-da-da-da. And there's all this drama that goes on in women trying to be friends but are not able to be friends. This is natural, and the only thing to stop this is 3 girls in love, in my opinion. Because then you actually have friends and you know they're not going anywhere and they're going in the exact same direction. If you guys move as a family, guess what? Your 2 best friends are moving with you. And it's natural because they have the same man. Do you understand what I mean? Like, that's it. They will be your friends forever and you'll never, ever be lonely. It's like 3 girls in love actually solves the loneliness problem once and for all, forever. Monogamy sucks.
You are going to experience loneliness. Like that's just what it is. And with the fact that people are, through your college experience.
Just listen to this again and again. This is so crucial.
You are going to experience loneliness. Like that's just what it is. And with the fact that people are, especially now in 2020, people are mobile, right? Like we're moving all the time, especially in the Bay Area. No one is from here. You go to San Francisco and you talk to people and they're like, oh, I'm from Nashville or I'm from Michigan. Like, no one is from here. So we are all living in a society where we are constantly moving. Like if there's a job, we're going to go take that job. If there is a relationship, we might go move for the relationship. Who knows? But we are a very mobile society. We're a very mobile generation. And what that does is it makes it harder to maintain those friendships, because a lot of times your friends move far away. And I just think nobody talks about that. No one talks about the sort of loneliness that comes along with being a woman, like the loneliness that can happen as you leave college and you don't have the security of like seeing your friends every day.
And women are social creatures. Like, men don't need other people as much as, like, women do. Women need other people to accept them and to be around them and to love them and to cherish them and to, to go around shopping with them and to check out prices with them and go to the movies and go to a lunch date and blah, blah, blah. Women are social creatures. They need someone around them all of the time. The more masculine they are, then they want alone time and they want to make sure that no one is with them that much and all that stuff because people are such a hassle, blah blah blah. Feminine creatures love being around people. It fuels them, it gives them energy, and especially if it's estrogen, because estrogen just synergistically helps women to feel absolutely amazing as long as they feel accepted and loved, etc. But also what you'll notice is that very often women are judging each other all of the time when they don't have the same philosophies or beliefs or values about life. Which means that one woman, let's say, for example, you've got three women, and one of them is like, oh, I want to do this, and this completely contradicts everything that the other two women are doing. They're like, why does she want to do that? Or why is she thinking like that? This is weird, and maybe I don't really feel connected to her that much anymore, blah, blah, blah. Like, this happens when you don't spend much time together. Women need to spend a lot of time together. If they spend a lot of time together, they become one. And if they become one, then they kind of have the same interests. They're unique. They have the same, they have different abilities, different skills. They can teach each other different stuff. In Three Girls in Love, you end up spending time with people that are like you, and that accept you, that love you, and that will cherish you for the rest of your life, and that you can handle the domestic chores of life with forever. And they don't become chores anymore. They become the fun things you do at home because you're doing it with people that you love.
I just think that that's something that is important to acknowledge and to recognize it. Like we do experience this. This is something that happens. We experience loneliness, and it's sad, but it's a part of life. But it's just one thing that no one really wants to talk about.
That's not a part of life. And I'm so glad she brought it up. But loneliness should never, ever, ever be a part of life. Why? Why is that a benefit to anyone? It's not. So we can solve it. It's easy to solve it. It's just not called monogamy. It's called Three Girls in Love.
The topic of friendships, my seventh tip, is that friendship breakups are just as hard as romantic breakups, if not harder. And this is something that I did not know. So
that's a good one. Oh my gosh, fantastic. Amazing. Man, she's amazing.
And you guys will hear more about this when, if I don't know when I'm going to post this, but if I've already posted the video with my best friend, you'll hear about our relationship and how I've kind of struggled with female friendships in particular. Because of that, I have gone through friendship breakups, and they are very, very sad. No one told me how sad it can be to go through a friendship breakup. It can honestly sometimes be worse than a romantic relationship breakup.
Relationships with other women, for women, are more important than their man-woman relationship. Okay, like, you won't understand this maybe if you're young, but from the aspect of if you're spending majority of your time with other women, then that relationship means a lot to you compared to the relationship you have with the man. Also, if you're really in love with your man, he's probably somewhat of a mystery to you. Like, because you've noticed that you like to observe your guy from afar. You like to see him, and you're wondering things about him. You have like questions in your head, blah blah blah. He's a mystery. The only reason why he's a mystery, and this is when the relationship works the best, is because he's gone, and so you want him sometimes. Okay, you want him maybe 10% of the time of your awake time, or maybe 20% of your awake time. So that's wonderful. That's awesome. But 80% of the time, women were designed to spend time with other women. And that's why relationships with friends and those breakups are harder than the breakups with men. Probably not if he is like your end all and your entire life, and you're in a committed lifelong relationship, then that relationship will be more important than your friends. But if you manage to understand the differences there, but
breaking up. I've had experiences where I've been friends with people and we've traveled abroad and we've done all these things and then just fallen out, and it is so sad. But I think the best thing that you can do if you experience that, or even if you haven't experienced that, is just to know that not every friend is meant to be your friend for life. Not every friend is going to be there from the age of 5 until you're 75. Like, friends, just like boys, just like everything else in life, come and go. Like, everything is here in a season. Everything is here for a purpose. You might have thought you were going to be friends with that person forever, but there's a really good chance that you won't be, just because that's how life goes. And I think that's the best bit of advice I could offer when it comes to friendships, is just to know that not every friendship is meant to last. Not every friendship is meant to be in every season of your life, but to look at the friendship that you had and get whatever good you can get out of it. Focus on the good things, focus on what you learned and what you would do differently going forward. Like, there's always something positive to be gained from every situation, and friendship breakups are no exception. But they do happen, they are sad, but just know that not every friend is meant to be there for your entire life. The eighth bit of life.
It would be nice though if you had two friends that did stuck it out for the rest of your life with you, wouldn't it? Like, yes, there's a fluid situation, but why would you start a relationship if you know that it's not gonna last? Like, would you literally start a relationship with the guy if you know for a fact this guy's not gonna be there? Why would you start that relationship? Same thing with friends. Like, why do you start a relationship with someone if you know they're not going to be there unless they fill a specific role in your life of just being there as an acquaintance once in a while? The deep relationships, you want them to stick for life, okay? Now, that commitment probably won't come before after a time, but once you've chosen three girls in love family, where you're three women, one man, and the relationship is absolutely amazing, and none of you have had sexual relationship with each other, it hasn't gone to that aspect of things, but you've decided together this is the family that we want. That's when you know for a fact that you're going to stick together forever, as long as the man does the principles of three girls in love and understands how that functions, and he receives stamp of approval, etc. But that's what you want over time.
Life
Almost
advice
done.
that no one tells you is that you will continue being peer pressured well after high school, well after college, just in different ways. Peer pressure is not specifically for middle school and high school girls. Peer pressure continues to happen as you grow into a full-grown adult. And you can feel peer pressure in much different ways than you did in high school and middle school, but it's still there. Whether it be someone pressuring you to go to an event, to date someone, go on a date, you will continue to be pressured as you grow, as you age, as you mature, to do all sorts of things. That's not something that is specific for high school and middle school. And the way that you combat this is learning to say no. You have to learn how to say no. You cannot go through life afraid to say no, afraid to disappoint everyone, overbooking yourself because you can't say no. Like,
Very important aspect where she explains here. She wants she. Why would a woman ever get into a situation where she has to say no? Like, peer pressure, yes, I agree. However, there's way more peer pressure when you are alone. When you're by yourself, peer pressure sucks because you do something that you don't want to do because you feel guilty, because everyone else is doing it, because of this, that, and the other. You feel pressured. There's gonna be some form of peer pressure in Three Girls in Love as well, in a sense, but you're all moving in the same direction, so the peer pressure, you can affect it. You can actually stand up and have a voice in that relationship. It's very difficult to stand up for yourself as a monogamous, alone, sole person when you're in a situation with other people. Like, the peer pressure thing, yes, is absolutely real, but if you are one with your two best friends in Three Girls in Love, then the peer pressure won't have an effect as much because you are the ones that are affecting each other's choices, if that makes sense. Like, you're sharing your life with two others, and in that regard, you together as are able to say no to a situation. And it doesn't make you masculine. It doesn't make you disciplined. Very often in monogamy, you have to, like she says, you have to say no, and you have to, not care about what other people think and all that stuff. But that has to do with you being monogamous and being by yourself and alone. When you're supposed to be a social creature and have other women with you who accept you, and you guys are leaving the situation behind. Because it's so much easier to leave a situation and to stand up for what you believe in when you're three. When you're one, it sucks. When you're three, you are a collective that are leaving the other collective and have no interest in doing what they're doing because of. Do you understand the aspect of peer pressure is not that big a deal the rest of your life when you're three because you stand up for each other. You're protected by each other by strength in numbers. So, for example, if you have a sucky mother-in-law, which is possible, this happens all the time in monogamy as well, then if you're three, she's not going to be that sucky because she can't be rude to one, because if she's rude to one, she's rude to three. And a mother-in-law would never want to be rude to three because they're strength in numbers. Very often a mother-in-law is powerful because she's... Do you understand what I mean? Like, there's so many aspects where the three would solve the problem so much more beautiful than if you were by yourself.
you need to learn how to say no. If that's something you struggle with, that's not really an issue for me. That
Some
is not an issue for me.
masculinity.
If I know I can't do something, if I know I don't want to do something, I will say no. But I know that that's something a lot of women struggle with because of our tendency to want to make people happy and to want to people please, essentially. So learn how to say no. Know that peer pressure is going to come, but if it's something you don't want to do, or if it's something that's going to hurt someone else, hurt you or your family, learn how to say no, walk away from a bad situation. I mean, I know in high school we did, no, in middle school we did DARE, and I'm pretty sure the catchphrase was like, just say no. And that kind of like is applicable in your adulthood as well. So just say no. The ninth bit of life advice that no one tells young women is that credit is someone else's money. It's not your money. It feels like it's your money. They trick you into making you think it's your money. It's not, okay? It's someone else's money. This is something that my mom has drilled into me, this whole idea of credit and everything. But I know a lot of girls who struggle with this whole concept. You need to know that credit is not your friend, okay? It's not your friend. It's important, but it's not your best friend, okay? Credit's your enemy, because you go to Macy's and they're like, oh, do you want to open a Macy's card today? And you're like, I don't know. And they're like, you'll get 100% off if you do. And you're like, oh, okay, well, sure. If everybody makes credit and credit cards out to be this beautiful, wonderful thing that's meant to help you. That's not the case. Credit is good in a sense that, like, obviously you need to.
Credit, oh my gosh, I completely agree with her. But women's psyche has been developed in such a way as to spend other people's money. That's what's natural. That's why it feels like credit is your money. It's because in your brain, you've received stuff for free. And the feminine creature, it's like your hormones actually are telling you that you're entitled to this. And that's correct. It's by nature's design that you were to use other people's money. What you don't know is that this is supposed to be your man's money. Okay? In Three Girls in Love, he has so much cash that the credit that you receive, you know you'll get it again next month. And then next month. And then next month. Your job is to finish that money. Okay? Now he'll set the limit. He'll have a limit to how much cash you have, which is a good thing, because then you know that you can spend as much as you want up until that limit. And then that limit, when you hit it, then that's the limit. So you stick within the budget of what he believes is a rational amount for you to spend. But it's feminine to spend. It's feminine to buy. It's feminine to shop. It's feminine to be thrifty and all that stuff. And to get stuff that's necessary for your home, for your family, for your domestic, castle. As a woman, it's your duty to spend. But if you're by yourself or you're monogamous, then very often it doesn't feel right, because you're very often poor compared to, you want a lot more stuff, but you can't, but you end up using credit because you believe that it's your money, but it's not your money because it's someone else's money. And that, yeah, like she says, they make it all fancy and stuff. But understand that femininity, if you're truly feminine, you were designed to spend. Why? In order to improve your life now. Immediate gratification. Let's fix the problem immediately and spend whatever we need in order to solve the problem. Beautiful. I love it. It's the way it's supposed to be. A man of high value will always have cash. Okay? He'll have a limit, but he'll never go lower on that limit. He'll always increase the limit exponentially over time, which makes your life absolutely flippin' amazing.
Build enough credit so that you can be able to buy a house, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. You really shouldn't be relying on credit for a bunch of stuff. You should want to pay for things with your own money, because you're always going to have to pay it back. And that is just something that people need to realize. I remember watching Love is Blind, and Amber and Barnett were having a conversation about money, and she said that she had like a $700 credit card for makeup, or like to Sephora or something like that. And I was like, oh girl, oh girl, you don't need a makeup credit card. Just buy it cash. Like, and if you can't afford a $20 eyebrow pencil, then you just can't get it, okay? Just go to CVS and get the $8 one. I'm just saying. Nobody says that. No one wants to tell you that. I'm telling you. And the 10th bit of life advice that I would give you that no one ever wants to talk about is that in everything you do in life, not making a decision is a decision. If you're at a crossroads and you don't know what to do, not choosing something is in and of itself a choice. And I think that's so important to remember. So important to remember that in life, we make choices. In life, we have options. And you have to make a choice. You cannot take steps in life if you don't make the decision, if you don't make the choice. You cannot get ahead in any aspect of your life if you don't make a choice. In this society, I feel like we're all really in our heads. Like, we're all overthinkers. We're really
all in our heads. I'm going to explain. This is masculine femininity here. Being in your head is masculine. Being in your body, emotion, amazing feelings, feminine, okay? And there's things are becoming warped right now. She's saying that in this life, in this world, sorry, picture?
in our head.
Women are becoming more and more in their heads, losing all of their emotions, meaning they feel emotionally dead and have to use stimulants and alcohol and drugs and all that stuff in order to feel anything. This is based on them being in their heads. And then men are in their heads, if they're masculine, but rational, logical thinkers, but the more they remain in their femininity from their childhood, the more they want to be in their emotions, and they want to feel things, and they want to express their emotions, blah, blah, blah. This is bad, okay? We want the polarity where masculine men are in their heads, but they love being in their heads, okay? They're fired up outside their brain about being in their heads and then taking action. Being in their heads, taking action. That's masculine. Femininity is, so you understand that aspect. Uh, also, what she says about decisions here is crucial, because we figured this out. We had an epiphany, me and my wife, the other day about decisions and choices. Actually, she was the one who thought of this. Amazing. And choices is feminine. Making decisions is masculine, because making decisions actually means to cut off all other options and never ever think about the other options again. One decision and then make it, like, made it and it's made, like, you'd never go back. You don't even think about what you did not choose in the past, if that makes sense. But femininity makes choices in the moment, but that doesn't mean that it's a decision. It doesn't mean that the other options have been cut off. And this is femininity, is that they don't want to make choices. They don't want to make decisions, or they can't make decisions to cut off all other options. So you end up just kind of moving together with your options for as long as possible until you can't anymore. And the decision is made for you, if that makes sense.
We don't really know how to make decisions because we have been force-fed so many options because of social media in particular, but the internet, things like that. We are hyper aware of all of the options that we have. Like, we're hyper aware of them, and that makes it harder to make decisions.
Yeah, like, we're told we have options very often, but once you actually have to step on the path of attaining those options, then you figure out that, oh, I don't really want that after all, okay? Like, the cause and effect, like, you want this effect, this reward at the end of the tunnel, and social media is telling you you can have this and that and the other. It's kind of like the credit card again. You have the option. You can buy this if you want, but it's a very bad idea, really, because you're going to go into credit card debt and blah, 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 and it's going to screw you over. So it's like, but for you, it's a choice. It's not a decision. It's a choice that, oh, if I buy this, I will get this. And yeah, but you forgot about the side effects, or you forgot about the stuff that happens after.
And I'm telling you that you will live a much happier life once you start actually making decisions for your life. When you start actually making choices and saying, okay.
You see how she mixes those two, choices and decisions? They're not the same. Decisions, cutting off. Choices is basically in the moment choices, and always going back to choices and going back and forth and all that stuff.
Okay, I have chocolate or I have vanilla. I can sit here and debate between the benefits of chocolate versus the benefits of vanilla, or I can really think about it, pick the one that I've thought about, that I've meditated on, and then move forward accordingly. And that's how you get ahead in life. That is how you make it to the next step. That's how you experience things. That's how you do anything, is by making choices. Don't allow overthinking to overpower you. Don't allow the facade of having a lot of options stress you out, because honestly, I don't even really think we do have that many options. Like, I think we just think we do. At the end of the day, just know that you have, like, make a decision. That's how you're going to get ahead in life, by making choices, and by making choices that are going to benefit you in the long run, or benefit your community in the long run. But you have to make a choice regardless. Well, everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you liked it.
Amazing. I absolutely did love it. Feminine Fancy, go check out her channel. She did a great job with this video, explaining a lot of the stuff that we already know from our channel. But, I hope that you got some more value from it, seeing my perspective on things, especially from the 3 Girls in Love perspective. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic day.